Hi, my name is Courtney Brown, and this is an interview when I met with a special education teacher at Ottumwa High School. When I asked about the curriculum vision at Ottumwa High School, referred to as OHS, she told me that their vision stands with the district's vision to engage, educate, and empower students daily. As far as the curriculum vision, they are aligned with the Iowa Common Core like the rest of the general education teachers and students. However, they must make accommodations based on student need and ability. Depending on the student and the amount of time that they are in the general education classroom, the curriculum is going to be more closely aligned to the general education curriculum. As far as the curriculum outcomes, I was told that the outcome of learning from the curriculum is going to vary with each student. One student may be able to quote and cite text details that align with the 9th grade standard, but that is not the case for all of the students. She said they look for what the 10th grade or 9th grade student is able to do and match it with a grade standard. A special education student in 10th grade may be able to successfully complete a standard designated for 5th grade. When asked about literacy literature and how it relates to the general education classroom, again, I was told that each student is different, so depending on their ability, this is very individualized. If a student is able to listen to a novel or a story and follow along, there are several programs that they can use to make that happen as far as being read to with technology. They want the student doing as much as he or she can that aligns to the general education classroom, but it also needs to be realistic to their abilities. If the 11th grade English class is reading The Great Gatsby, they will either read it aloud or have it read via technology to the student. When asked about informational text and how it aligns with the general education classroom, I was told it's the same as it is with literacy and literature. However, with informational text, they are able to break it down and change some of the wording without hurting the content. As far as foundation skills, instruction and foundational skills are extremely important in special education. They are not necessarily instructed in high school, as most have mastered this by elementary school. However, they focus on whatever the student is struggling in, whether it is phonemic awareness or even letter sounds. When asked about range of text, again, depending on what the general education classroom is doing, the range of text varies. There will be a driving force in instruction. If it's historical fiction, for example, that's what they will be working on in the special education room. The difficulty will not match the general education classroom, but the range or the type of text will. She currently has a student working on informational text about Brazil, which is what the general education classroom is doing. However, the text is being simplified and using less words. However, it's also not going to damage the integrity of the text. Writing is very individualized per student. A lot of her students will use a keyboard during writing time. Most of the time, handwriting is too difficult for them. Again, like literature, they stay as close to the general education classroom as possible. Depending on the ability of the student, the sentences vary in complexity, as does what they are writing. For example, a narrative may only have an introduction, 1 or 2 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. Literacy, as far as speaking and listening, again, this varies depending on the student. Some students are not able to vocalize, so a Dynavox is used. They work on listening to what is being said or read aloud to them and the ability to construct an answer that either relates to the question or an idea that goes along with what was being asked or said. And lastly, I asked about language skills. The ability to use academic language in conversation is an important aspect of ELA skills. They work with their students on using academic language as well as conversation skills. Some students, depending on their IEP, have social skills as a target area. If this is the case, academic language sometimes takes a backseat until they can make progress with daily conversational skills. Okay. Lastly, the Venn diagram that I constructed. In the general education classroom, some differences were the pace is going to be much quicker for those students. The work is less individualized. There's typically more work expected of students in the general education classroom. The content is grade level, and they have more engaging conversations. The differences in the special education classroom is that learning is more tailored or individualized to each student. The pace is going to be a lot slower, and depending on ability, more help is going to be offered. Now, as far as the similarities, standards by the Common Core state standards are always going to be followed. The grade level might vary, but standards are always going to be followed. They use the same type of text as far as if in the general education classroom it's historical fiction, that's what's going to be used in special education as well. Inclusion is used as much as possible with the help of an associate or a paraprofessional, and they are continuously working on developing stronger writing skills. So that was my interview with a 9th and 10th grade special education teacher at Ottumwa High School. Thank you.